Joining us now is Okpe with stories trending around the world. Hello, OG.
Serious in trouble.
No, I got it right.
Yes, you did.
Yes,
it was fantastic. How are you?
I'm good. Good to see you.
Great. Good to see you too, Tunjun.
Good morning,
I don't know how you cope with this, dude. Good morning, Rufai. How are you?
Okpe.
He's joined the clique. Good morning. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Thank you. Good morning. Yeah.
Well, good morning to you, viewers. We begin What's Trending with a viral video by an officer of the Nigerian army who called out all the heads of military structures in the country for their incompetence. In the 12-minute video, the officer, who is a lance corporal, expressed his anger with the service chiefs, stating that they have failed the nation because of the incessant killings that continues to ravage the country. Among the service chiefs he called out was the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Yusuf Berating. Let's take a listen to this video before we take some reactions.
Lieutenant General Tuku Yusuf Berating. As I'm making this video, I want to let you know that I'm highly disappointed in your command. You should call yourself a coward, a traitor, and a betrayer to the Nigerian as a whole. I don't care what you do. You may think you are God. You may try to kill me. You may try to do this. But I'm not in that business with you because you are no more loyal. You cannot earn my loyalty with what you are doing. I know after this video, you may come, you want to arrest me, you want to do this. But know that I'm guided by the Constitution. You cannot just come and arrest me. I'm ready to face court-martial. And my court-martial must be open to the whole Nigerians to know. I'm calling on all the independent lawyers to stand by me because this is a matter of urgency. People are dying too much. You should be ashamed of yourself, you that call yourself Chief of Army Staff, Berating, and the Chief of Air Staff, the Chief of National Security Advisor, NSA, retired General Mungunu. You are supposed to be ashamed of yourself. The Minister of Defense, you're supposed to be ashamed of yourself because you are all from the North. It is the North they are suffering now. The North are dying for nothing. I am a middle belt. But I am a Nigerian and I am concerned Nigerians.
Let's take some Twitter reactions before we discuss. One user wrote, absolute freedom of speech in this country, complete democracy. This guy is a hero. He has given his life already, knowing what might happen next to him, what all Nigerians should stand for. Another user wrote, this act of insubordination by the lance corporal strikes at the heart of discipline, for which the military is known. The allegations made could be right, but such activism has no place in uniform, should either bite the bullet or resign honorably. Another user wrote, soldier may have some point here. However, the soldier has violated military code of conduct by not filing his grievance through chain of command. This action affects morale and may lead to mutiny. Separate him from the platoon because soldiers ain't politicians. Finally, another user wrote, he said, if you don't know your right, you are a blind man. So many Nigerians are truly blind. If we start having more brave military men like him, hopefully President Buhari will sack Berating. I wish him well, but they are coming for him, no doubt. Well, that last user was absolutely right because from the time of the last report, the Lance Corporal, who I believe his name was Martins, was arrested yesterday by some unknown military men. And, you know, it has caused a lot of outrage on social media at this point because many are, you know, I think a lot of people are on his side because he came out with some constitution, a military code of conduct about loyalty and that, you know, the Chief of Army Staff had not shown loyalty, and so because of that, he was, you know, in his right to berate him in the manner in which he did.
For me as a civilian, all I can see is his valor in not even trying to hide his identity, and he's really beyond the point of self-preservation. And that goes to show you the desperation that he feels. Yeah. And he made this point that he's not even talking about himself or his people, if we're going to be tribal about it, if we're going to be parochial about it. He's talking about Northerners, and he said he's from the Middle Belt. So I do think that he's a brave man, but that's me as a civilian. From the military perspective, it's not the done thing. So I'm sure that there will definitely be disciplinary procedures applied to him, unfortunately. Yes. But I support what he did.
Well, I don't support what he did, and I do not consider him a hero. From an organizational perspective, what he has done is an act of sabotage and an act of insubordination. And he himself had already indicated that he may be court-martialed, and he deserves to be court-martialed. If he's frustrated with the military, then, of course, the appropriate thing for him to do will be to ship out, to resign. He has that option. But to call out his bosses, publicly and insult them and embarrass them, I do not think fits into the culture of an organization. If you, OG, were to do that, here, let's just make that comparison for academic purposes, I would not support you. However, the point that Tundo has made about being a civilian, yes, the ordinary Nigerian will say, yes, it's good to have a whistleblower within the military or within government. And there have been other persons in the past who have called out the military chiefs to say that, look, you are not treating us well, you are not loyal to the president, you are not providing the equipment. So as citizens, we will say, well, we are being told the truth, and that there is freedom of speech, and, there should be whistleblowers everywhere. So that's another side of it. But if you look at it in terms of organization and code of conduct, you will fortune.
All right. I know we took a story about a soldier who was in the war front, actually, and he did the same thing. He was berating the chief of army staff because he said that they sabotaged their battle. I know you have a comment, Rufai.
I mean, I think they have said it all, but one thing I'll say is militarily, you don't do that. It's not done anywhere. You can't do that. You can't come out and berate the military so much and expect to still stay in the military. But let's flip it and look at the other side. There are people that have done it. What have been the consequences? There's a guy in America called Bradley Manning, too, that did this to the American army. You saw the very dire consequences he faced. But let's ask questions. What will lead an officer to come out and behave this way? Do we have antecedents of people coming out to behave this way? Yes. What is the reason behind this? Let us investigate that properly and also look at it and look at the general overview at the military structure. But organizationally, it's not nice, it's not good, it is terrible when you come out and do this about an institution you swore to give your life to and a country you swore to fight for and die for. But other people have done it in the past. And I think one part we should watch is it's fast becoming a recurring decimal.
Yes.
We are seeing these videos one too many.
Yes.
So something should be done as regards the morale of the military.
This is my point.
Yes.
Sometimes procedure is wrong, and I agree with you. If it was in an organization in the normal sense of the word, of course it's wrong. But this is life and death. And then what about the point Rufai made, which was really great, that as a soldier, you swear to protect your country, but the security chiefs are soldiers too. They also swore to protect their country. Are they really discharging that duty? Sometimes when it's a matter of desperation that makes people flout the usual niceties, and people are dying. This is not a minor inconvenience or an irritation. People are dying.
Yes, and like Rufai pointed out, we have seen these videos too many times. That means something is really wrong with the morale of the soldiers.
And we're not the ones on the war front,
yes, and
on the receiving end of this.
Yes, and so, but like he said, I don't mind being court-martialed. I don't mind being, but it needs to be in public,
for him
he said.
Come out and say
and
that.
he also went on to say that, his family will be, worried for him now, but he's ready to lay down his life for Nigerians. And he wants to put it in the public eye.
Clearly, there are issues to be addressed, and those issues should be addressed. And this kind of protest by the rank and file should be seen as a wake-up call.
Yes.
But the entire country will be imperiled if we now have soldiers at the war front who are behaving like the Boko Haram. you know, that in itself is something that we should worry about.
Yes, because also, like you said, the Boko Haram, they would feel like the army is weak at this point if people come out and do these.
Ojinika, let's take a short commercial break, and when we return, the morning show, What's Trending, will continue with Oji Okpe. Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. Still with us is Oji Okpe with What's Trending. Over to you, Oji.
Thank you, Dr. Abati. Let's take another story in Kano State, Nigeria, where the police have rescued 300 people they say were locked in a rice processing factory and forced to work throughout the coronavirus lockdown. The Indian-owned factory, called Popular Farms, allegedly promised their workers an additional 5,000 naira, which is about $13 a month, on top of their 27,000 naira, which is about $72 monthly salary. And those who did not accept were threatened with the sack. The police spokesman, Abdullahi Haruna, said the factory had now been shut down and the owners are being investigated for holding the men against their will for close to 3 months. Some of the men say they were forced to work most of the time during their incarceration with little or no food. I mean, this is absurd. We're talking about slavery in America. We have it right here in Nigeria. What happened there? I don't understand how that factory could lock up all of those men for 3 months for no reason, just because they want to keep their supply chain going. They have flouted so many regulations at this point because, first of all, during the lockdown, the factory was supposed to be shut down. So what happened there?
They need to have the book thrown at them. This is outrageous.
Yes.
And it is constant. We have foreign businesses coming here and treating Nigerians in a way that no Nigerian should ever be treated in their own country. This is constant. If it's not an Indian company today, tomorrow will be a Chinese company being abusive towards their workers. Not that it's a nationality issue, because we have abusive Nigerian employers, but the fact is we don't allow respect for our Nigerian labor. We just don't, because you do these things in a country where there's a culture of impunity. When you feel that there are no consequences, they will not do that in India, but they think they can do that in Nigeria. And that's one thing we really need to address. Our labor laws need to be implemented. They need to be enforced. And we can't allow people to be treated in this fashion. Locked up with little food and made to work. It is sickening.
And earning less than minimum wage, let us say that.
It is sickening. 27,000 naira, yes.
Well, I mean, there are violations here, clearly. At one level, the violation of the guidelines prescribed by the Nigerian government with regard to protocols conduct during the period of COVID-19. The Nigerian government had said businesses should shut down at a particular time. And then you have this factory, Indian-owned, that we're told, Popular Farms, and then they decided to just continue with business as usual. Then secondly, I mean, even if the workers themselves agreed to the offer of 5,000 naira extra per month, which in itself doesn't make sense, what they faced was also a case of false imprisonment, a case of more or less incarceration.
Yes.
Yes.
Now, the third point is that this also, again, is in violation of the ILO regulations as to workplace time. I mean, there are protocols as to number of hours that you can work in a workplace.
Correct.
There are also labor laws in Nigeria that have been violated. Those laws were brought about to prevent feudalism, because it's only under a feudal system that workers are treated like animals. And what that particular company has done is to treat its workers as animals. So what are the possible reliefs? I think that now that the workers are complaining, they should not stop at the level of just media complaints, because that may not bring any relief. They should be assisted by the Labour Congress or the relevant unions to go to court to press their rights.
Yes.
Secondly, the authorities, I think, particularly the Presidential Task Force, should wade into this matter and investigate exactly what happened in that particular company. And then to the point made by Tundu, yes, many companies, either they are Indian or they are of any other extraction working in Nigeria, they've always been treating Nigerians with contempt.
Yes.
I mean, there are foreign companies operating in Nigeria, for example, where there are such rules as, look, a Nigerian cannot man the cash department.
Yes.
Okay? And that's blackmail because they have this racist belief that, oh, a Nigerian will ordinarily steal. There are companies in Nigeria who do not respect Nigerian laws, right? There are companies in Nigeria also who do not respect the immigration quota. They bring mechanics, they bring artisans from their country when the same skill is available in Nigeria.
Yes.
So these are the dimensions that I think that the authorities should look at. This should not be treated as just another case of worker victimization. It should be taken as a serious matter, that is a wake-up call, and that is an indication of the plight of Nigerians working in many companies, either foreign-owned or locally owned, because there are also Nigerian companies that do not treat their workers well.
Very well said. I know 5 people have been arrested from that company. Rufai, I know that you have a comment.
I mean, I'm very sad, and I'm very sad when I saw that. But I remember the words of Mahatma Gandhi that talked about 7 sins. That said, pleasure without conscience, knowledge without character, commerce without morality. And that's a clear case of commerce without any sense of morality. It is very bad. You are paying them a paltry amount. You are violating their rights, which to me looks like slavery. I mean, the United Nations Declaration of Human Rights says where the transaction is not fair, it's skewed, it's more or less a form of slavery. And that's what it's looking like to me. Because like you said, 27,000, way below the minimum wage and the likes. But I'm sorry to say this, we put ourselves in this situation. You see, I think it was Wole Soyinka said the man died when you fail to stand up for what is right. When the judicial...
The man dies who keeps silent in the face of tyranny.
Yes. So when the judiciary, will not, stand up for the people, when fellow Nigerians themselves, because you'll be shocked, if you investigate properly, the guy that might have done the negotiation with them might be a fellow Nigerian. I've seen it in many cases. I mean, in the case of a Chinese factory where some people even died a couple of years back, they will have like a Nigerian line manager that will do the negotiation.
I remember that.
And you see other cases like this. And let me shock you. I want them to surprise me if this case is duly dealt with. But trust me, I've seen so many cases like that. It's just going to be a slap on the wrist of these people, and they're going to be let to go scot-free. And that continues. And the man keeps dying every day. It saddens my heart. Nigerians are worth more than this. It saddens my heart so much that Nigerians in Nigeria are treated nothing less than or worse than resource monkeys. It's painful. It's painful. It's painful. Please, this is something all of us should cry about.
Very well said. I know that there is a human rights organization that is part of this whole process, and I hope that they will really follow through with this accusation, and hopefully something is done about it, and it's not one of those stories that are just swept underneath the carpet at this point. Let's take another story. The Cross River State government has debunked reports that a member of the State House of Assembly, Godwin Okpe, died from COVID-19 related issues in an isolation center. At a media briefing on Tuesday, the state's Commissioner for Health, Betta Edu, said the late Okpe was not COVID-19 positive, as many suspected him to be. In her words, in quote, that death was not as a result of COVID-19. It is not medically correct to stand here and state the illness of anyone without due permission from the family or the next of kin, end quote. I mean, this has happened again and again and again. We see these people continuing to deny. Not that I am saying that she's lying, but I mean, like Ihe Kwazo said, there is no state without a COVID-19 case. There is no country without a COVID-19 case. What is all of this denial about? I mean, I don't understand this.
Well, Cross River is an oasis in the middle of a pandemic. Cross River is miraculously pandemic-free, okay?
Well, that's a claim of the state government,
yes.
But I think that the governor of Cross River State and his spokespersons, specifically the Commissioner for Information and the Commissioner for Health, who have both been very vocal in the last 2 weeks, need to be reminded that there are no medals to be won for being COVID-19 free. and the antagonism of that state towards the federal government and its agents who are trying to cover the entire country to protect Nigerians is totally misplaced and, if I may say strongly, unreasonable. And at the moment, officially, what you'll find is that only Cross River State is resisting the federal government and saying we have no COVID-19. The other state, perhaps, is Kogi State, although Kogi State has had recorded against it 2 cases. And I think that the Director General of the NCDC, the Center for Disease Control, when he made the point that, look, whatever resistance comes from Cross River, sooner or later, you know, the COVID-19 will also be reported from Cross River State. What should be important is not the politics of it. What should be important to the Cross River State government should be the safety of the people of Cross River State and ensuring that they get help, necessary help, and that the necessary infrastructure is in place. I mean, about a week ago, the Commissioner for Information was complaining that the gene spat system that was put in place in Cross River State to ensure proper testing was an attempt by the federal government to import positive and negative samples. And the NCDC said, look, that's not the protocol. That's not what is done. So what we face in Cross River State is an unmitigated case of ignorance, you know, being officially promoted. And I think that the people of Cross River State may have reached a point where enlightened people in the state should begin to speak up.
Yes,
because
absolutely.
I don't want to imagine that we have a tyrannical system in place in Cross River State where democracy should be the order of the day, as should be the case across Nigeria.
Very well said, Dr. Abati. Rufai.
Wow, here we go again, Cross River State. Okay, 2 things I'd like to say at first. The Commissioner of Health, very good friend of mine, Loretta, did say that you can't get somebody's health status without their family or next of kin. But I think COVID is a peculiar issue. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. People come out around the world to say they have COVID. I mean, Novak Djokovic came out recently to say he has COVID. And if the man had died of COVID, then what's the big deal? Like Dr. Abati said, is there a medal or a trophy after this for somebody or for a state that didn't catch COVID? I mean, is this supposed to be a medal? Is this supposed to be a developmental goal? Maybe we don't see it properly that way. What is most important, and I have to say and reiterate this, is the fact that that state needs to test more. And I know why I'm saying that. That state needs to test more. If Cross River can come out to tell me that I've done over 1 million tests and I've not seen a COVID case, I'll praise them. But I'm not sure they're testing enough. And it's a ticking time bomb. It's a ticking time bomb. You might have clusters of people dying without even knowing. At first, this denial, we have seen it before. You remember how Kano started? No, it wasn't COVID. Yes. Afterwards, we saw, and they started coming out to talk about Kano. Please, let's test more. Let's test more. I think the Cross River State Governor, I'm begging you, Governor Ayadi, please set a target to test more. For if you want to win my love and affection for you, be the state that has tested more for COVID, then I will respect you.
Yes.
Please.
That's a very good point.
Well, the additional point to make is that the right to privacy that is being talked about, that right can actually be delegated under Section 35, 1E of the 1999 Constitution. When persons come down with infectious diseases or they are of unsound mind, the law does not say, you know, that they can insist on the right to privacy. Correct me if I'm right.
Yes.
Great.
Thank
you so much for that,
very,
Dr.
very
Abati.
good.
Thank
And the
you so
medal
much.
should be the state that tests more and not the one that has no COVID-19 case. I mean, that's what it should be.
Yeah.
That not this whole story, we don't have a COVID-19 case.
And it creates a stigma. When you have a state denying COVID-19,
Yes.
then individuals will do so as well.
Correct.
Shouldn't
Absolutely.
happen.
I believe we should go on a quick break before we
Okay,
come
we'll
back to our
take
next
another
story.
break right now here on The Morning Show. When we return, what's trending with Okpe will continue. Welcome back to The Morning Show here on Arise News. Okpe is still here with what's trending. Oji?
Thank you, Dr. Berating.
I see you smiling.
I'm always smiling. I don't know how you do it. When you call my last name, it just, I mean, it takes me by surprise all the time. Well, let's take our final story in Nigeria. A 17-year-old girl, simply identified as Aisat, has gone missing after she was allegedly swept away by the heavy flood on Monday in Lagos. In a statement by the head of public affairs of the Lagos State Emergency Management Agency, Nusa Okumbo, the unfortunate incident occurred around the low-cost housing estate in Surulere area of Lagos, where the teenager was swept away around 12:30 p.m. He added that the agency has commenced a search and rescue operation for the missing girl. All right. Well, at the time of this report, I believe that they have found the missing girl. Well, I mean, this is, yes, they found her body yesterday, I believe. Yes, it was reported today. Yes, and you know, I mean, this whole situation about the flood in Lagos, I mean, I don't understand it. At this point, this is not what should be happening. A missing girl cannot die because of the inadequate drainage system we have in Lagos. When it rains, it's insane in Lagos. On Monday, that rain was terrible. I don't know if you went out on Monday. I don't know if you went out on Monday. I couldn't access anywhere.
It's awful. So much for the mega city. And this is not the first casualty. This lady was, she was 17 years old.
Yes.
Aisat. And there's another little girl, 4-year-old, Azizat, who was swept away by a flood. That was a few days ago.
Yes.
And then that happened last year, you recall. Some children died last year as well. And now you have this notice that's been given by the Commissioner for Environment and Water Resources for Lagos State, Mr. Tunji Bello, that some people need to relocate to preserve their lives and their property because they're living in like sort of low-lying areas like Ajegunle. But really, relocate where is the problem? We need to find a solution. I'm aware that the state government tries to prepare and declare drainage areas and drainage channels and what have you, but it's clearly not enough. I mean, look at this. It looks like a river.
Well, I mean, it's an urban planning crisis, and it is perennial, and it will get worse. The situation is so bad in Lagos now that anytime it rains, people are afraid.
Yes.
They're scared. We've had the 4-year-old being swept away by flood, a 17-year-old being swept away. And also, you have cases of buildings, you know, either collapsing or all kinds of tragedies arising on account of rainfall. Now, in other parts of the world, people prepare for weather, you know, changes in the climate. They are prepared, they are given information. Not enough information is provided here. Here, we take nature for granted, and what is even worse, it's an urban planning crisis because we're told, and that's the excuse that government uses. They will say, oh, there are buildings blocking the drainage system.
Yes.
Now, but again, the Lagos State government has a drainage department. What is that drainage department doing? As far back as March, before the rainy season, yes, Tunji Bello, who is the Commissioner for Environment, as I've had cause to point out previously, warned that rainfall this year alone will be about 250 to 270 days, and that in terms of what has been predicted by the meteorological agency, that there's going to be a serious problem with rainfall. He assured us that, look, government was already taking preemptive steps to address the situation to make sure that Lagosians do not suffer. But obviously, that has not been done. I'm sure the excuse that will be given is that the Lagos State government has been busy with COVID-19. But this problem has to be addressed. And as we have seen, it's not just on the islands where people, you know, are built on drainage channels. It's all over Lagos.
Yes.
And every year, you just mark it, we're also going to have the problem of serious flooding on account of the emptying of the dam.
Yeah,
that happens all the time, you know, during the rainy season. And I think that what we can say to the Lagos State government is that, look, this does not make sense. Somebody has to address it. Yes. The drainage department has to work. And even when they say they are addressing the drainage, they will pack out the dirt in the drainage channels, put by the roadside. It rains a few hours later, the thing goes back inside. You know, so it's something that has to be taken more seriously. Otherwise, all of us are in danger.
I mean, we
You recall the other day, I couldn't make it to the studio.
correct. Oh,
I had to go back because I didn't want to risk, driving through a river on the streets of a country that is considered one of the biggest cities in Africa.
I mean, we cannot be losing lives, civilian lives to these Boko Haram people, these insurgents, and then these flooding. I don't understand it. We cannot have this. A 4-year-old last year, now a 7. I can't imagine what those that little girl's parents will be going through at this point. Rufai, I know you have a comment.
I'll start with a quote, a very funny quote by Warren Buffett that says, if you're playing poker for over an hour, you don't know who the party is, then you are the party yourself. And why do I say this? The party invariably is somebody that is losing. Then why do I say this? I say this because, like Dr. Abati said, we keep giving flood warning alerts every year, but we still have flood crises and people die. It's annoying. I was trying to tell Tundu something this morning, and the word I wanted to say while we were talking about something was the fact that it gets to a time where the word sorry becomes overrated. And for every life that we could have prevented their death that died, sorry for those lives are overrated because sorry will not bring those lives back. But anyway, I see a great opportunity, and it shocks me that we're not using this opportunity. Do you know that most of this rainwater you're seeing, if we have proper drainage channels and collection centers, can be recycled and still be used for the states? A stadium in 2002 in Yokohama was fully functioning based on rainwater because he had various collection chambers, and the rainwater that fell on the ground has a collection channel. I'll go back to the word urban planning. We can still do something. It's quite hard. A lot of people will take the beating, but we can still do something. And Tundu asked a very correct question. Lagos state government, people that have spent their hard-earned money, 50, 60 million naira to build houses in those areas, say they should relocate to where? Are you paying for their houses? Are you giving them new places to stay? I know it's for their own lives. Yes, that's correct. That's a good argument. But are you going to meet them halfway? It's a question I'd like to ask.
Very good question, Rufai. Well, now let's head over to the U.S., where President Donald Trump announced on Tuesday that he has authorized the government to arrest anyone caught trying to tear down monuments or statues, threatened that they could be jailed for 10 years. Trump added that the new order applies retroactively, so those who previously participated in bringing down memorials could be arrested. In a tweet, the president wrote, "I have authorized the federal government to arrest anyone who vandalizes or destroys any monument, statue, or other such federal property in the U.S., with up to 10 years in prison per the Veterans Memorial Preservation Act." Well, before the president departed the White House for a trip to Arizona on Tuesday, he announced that the police had stopped an attack on a great monument of Andrew Jackson in Lafayette Park and reiterated his threat. Let's take a listen to what he said.
We stopped an attack on a great monument, the monument of Andrew Jackson in Lafayette Park. And I just want to thank law enforcement. They did a great job. We were working very closely with the White House Secret Service and some of our executives. It was really, they did a great job. They stopped it cold. Numerous people are in jail and going to jail today. We're looking at long-term sentences under the Act. We have a very specific Monuments Act, and we are looking at long-term jail sentences for these vandals and these hoodlums and these anarchists and agitators, and call them whatever you want. Some people don't like that language, but that's what they are. They're bad people. They don't love our country, and they're not taking down our monuments. I just want to make that clear.
That's his last sentence where he says, "We're not taking down any monuments." That's the outrage right now on social media. People are talking about monuments that represent slavery and racist monuments, and then he comes out to say, "We're not taking down any monuments." I don't know if you remember, I think 2 days ago, which is my next story, maybe I should read the story before we finish this conversation. Well, mixed reactions have followed the announcement that the statue of former U.S. President Theodore Roosevelt is to be removed amid renewed criticism that it is racist and glorifies colonialism. The statue, which stood at the Central Park West entrance of the American Museum of Natural History for decades, depicts the former president on a horseback, flanked by a Native American and an African man. Officials have asked New York City, which owns the statue, to move it, a decision which President Trump says is ridiculous. like I said.
Well, there's no surprise with President Trump's position.
Yes.
I mean, he's built a whole political career on sort of this kind of divisive language. So really, I have no patience for his kind of talk. But for me, on the issue of statutes, I tend to see it the way Socrates did on trying to make change. It's better to spend your energy building the new rather than fighting the old. It's more effective. I think that those statues, revolting as they are, which they truly are, represent a part of history in America.
Sure.
So it should now be, the onus is on people now to create statues that now represent the sort of the nature of America today and include more women, more ethnic minorities, and really show what they have done.
Roosevelt, right? I mean, history says he owned no slaves, right? I mean, he's been, you know, he has some positive historian connotations that goes along with his name. But the fact that that statue represents, you know, that type of racist...
White supremacy.
Yes,
exactly. That is an embodiment of white supremacy.
Right.
And even Abraham Lincoln, one of the greatest presidents of America, with what he did to emancipate slaves, there's a statue of Honest Abe with his hand on a slave that's sort of crouching next to him. It's disgusting, quite frankly. And I see why people are offended by it, but I do also think that it represents a certain kind of thinking, and we should focus our energy on reflecting the more current type of thinking. Donald Trump's views are revolting, frankly, and retroactive legislation is unconstitutional. It's a revolting thing to suggest in what is supposed to be the world's greatest democracy.
Well, two quick points. One, I mean, the people who have been pulling down statues, I think political leaders, either in the United Kingdom or the United States, should listen to the people. The major issue is not just about the symbolism. It's about justice, it's about equality, it's about fairness, and people who have been protesting about race issues are asking political leaders to take a second look at the existing heritage. And if you look at the United Kingdom, I mean, in Oxford and elsewhere, they are trying to take a second look at it, you know, to meet the people at a certain point. Now, President Trump saying the law can take retroactive effect. I don't know about that, whether that will be just, you know.
10 years
It's unconstitutional.
Also, I mean, 10
No, he's
years
quoting a particular act, the Veteran Act, you know, but to say that the law will have retroactive effect goes against the basic principle.